There are moments in life when clarity doesn't arrive with certainty. It arrives with discomfort. When the decisions you know is right doesn't feel easy, light, or immediately rewarding. Today we are exploring what it means to sit with those moments and choose. Welcome to the Soul Mirror, a space for reflection, pattern awareness, and honest inner inquiry. I'm Shreya, and today I'm joined by Sayen Gates, a shadow work life coach, community-based doula, and the creator of and host of Shadow Corner, a podcast devoted to self-awareness, shadow integration, and transformational healing. In this episode, we are talking about making the hard decisions, the kind that asks us to listen deeply, confront our shadows, and choose alignment over comfort. Welcome, Shine. I'm honored to have you on my show.
It's great to be here. How you doing?
I'm absolutely fine. It's really an honor to have you. And Shine, when someone is standing at a crossroad, sensing that a difficult choice is unavoidable, what do you often notice happening inside them?
I know the first thing that I usually notice when it comes to people having to make the hard decision is that first they go through what some people will call the emotional factors. Usually they go through the reanalyzing the attachment stage, where it's like they reflect shortly about what memories they had either with the person, the place, or the thing, and then they try to bargain. It's kind of like the 7 stages of grief, if that makes any sense. Um, the first thing is just being able to look at all the things that they've been through this person. Sometimes they even go to the point of looking back, uh, looking back at the situation and wondering if I make this decision, what will work out, or if I make this decision, if this work out. It's like a whole. You could see it in their faces, it's like a contemplation, and sometimes it's you can either see their finger twitch, subtle changes in like mood or voice dropping. Sometimes for some people, there's also the avoidance factor where they'll automatically change the subject even though a decision has to be made. And I have also noticed with some people, they like to do this little tapping gesture where it's like they don't have to touch a surface to tap. They'll use their palm or their hands. So it it varies from person to person. Like, but the main thing is body language and facial and sometimes facial. And if there's a person that doesn't really show much facial expressions, your body language will say otherwise. Are they retreating from you? Is it they're pushing, yeah, retreating from you, pushing you away? Is it their feeling of being misunderstood or disappointing others or outgrowing people and versions of themselves? These are things that you'll learn later on, but body language is usually the key factor.
That's wonderful. And also, like, what do people tend to misunderstand about hard decisions? Why do we see so often assumes that the right choice should feel clear and painless?
Um, so when it comes why hard decisions feel so heavy is because the hard decisions usually involve loss and not gain. So if we think about in like a retrospect of, say for example, you lost a family member, a friend, or a loving pet. You the thought of putting your pet down is horrifying, am I correct? The
Right.
thought of losing your grandmother that literally raised you throughout your life is hard to think about because you feel like that, just like most people, we think we're superhuman and we're going to live forever.
Mm.
So when we think about loss, we kind of use comforts depending on the loss. No, we lose identity, excuse me, or familiarity. Sometimes for some people, that person was a source of comfort, a source of home. I can say for a firm example, like anytime that I used to go with my family on trips. When my dad wasn't there, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like home to me. But when he would come with us on trips, it would actually feel like the party just getting started. Everything's great. So when he passed away, that was something that I had to process, that I would have to be either I would have to play the role as the fun because I didn't like the emptiness. And sometimes the emptiness is something that's very scary. And then you end up staying stuck often because that feeling of safety and then stepping to the unknown uh, is very daunting and it hurts. But the loss is sometimes the lesson. That's the one thing we don't realize.
Yeah, I think that feels so important, recognizing that discomfort doesn't mean misalignment. It often means honesty also.
It also means realignment as well, because whether you know it or not, um, and I make this a public service announcement because I've run into a couple people that feel this way. Time is not your enemy.
Mhm.
Um, Loss is not your enemy. Uh, Going through mistakes and hard times is not your enemy. It's a curving point. It's literally spirit trying to, in my terms, it's literally spirit trying to mold you into the person that's needed for the next stage of your life. So if you say, for example, you're someone in their 20s, you're just going into college, you're just doing all these things, that time frame of you in college molds you into the person, and you start to learn your values, your core thinking. You start to understand your strengths and your weaknesses. Some people, they look for those type of positive dynamics to be able to grow. Other people can probably use it as an Achilles heel to get sympathy, or sometimes even to avoid certain decisions because it's too hard or it's too much.
Mm,
So, and the difference between hard and aligned decisions is that hard decisions feel heavy at first, and misaligned decisions feel heavy uh forever in our case. So, having peace over time and self-trust and emotional clarity are some things that you can look into uh getting yourself back into alignment.
yeah. And also, what deeper fears or patterns tend to surface when we are avoiding a decision we know we need to make?
Um Some fears or patterns, just like most things from what I've experienced, is usually comes from either childhood trauma, things that we've experienced through life that we didn't like the result of. So I used to say to people that I am the uh I wouldn't say, okay, so that way I can be very clear. To some people, I used to tell them I'm the observer child versus the trial and error child. So when you have kids, like the first college kid is the trial and error, you see what didn't work and what did not work. So when the second child comes in, you already know, like, I was like, what I did with the first one, I can't do with the second. So I would say I'm the second one, where I was the observer child. So I saw in real time what happens when you do certain things. So I tried to avoid those types of things in order to be able to move forward, because I saw moving faster wasn't it. Moving slower wasn't it. I moved at my own pace. So when we think about, um my brain is lost train of thought. When we think about patterns, we have to think about exactly what's the root cause? Where did this emotion come from? Is it attached to a memory? Is it attached to a moment in life where you felt as if that you were hopeless? Is it attached to your own insecurities? Is it attached to everything? Every little pattern is attached to something, or it was taught to you by someone that was also trying to figure it out. Your parents are usually your first teachers when you come into this world. So sometimes um that's something that you can develop from them. So it's really to be mindful of the little small idiosyncrasies when we think about patterns, behaviors, and root causes.
Yes. Uh, like, and also like it's very powerful to see how avoidance often protects parts of us that once needed safety but may also no longer need to control. And also, how does delaying or resisting hard decisions show up in everyday life, emotionally, relationally, or even physically?
So I'm gonna try to break it down. You said relationally
Yeah,
and decisionally
yeah, and physically.
and physically. All right. So to keep myself honest, I'm gonna go ahead and keep writing on this paper. All right. So when it affects us in multiple different ways. Um, in the physical, it can actually affect how you perform at work. For some people, that's not the case, but it can also affect how you communicate in your relationships. When you were the person that was very soft spoken, very um understanding, when it comes to harder decisions or harder choices, you sometimes feel that innate pressure, and then it's like a pressure cooker. If the steam doesn't come out, then it's gonna come out somewhere or another. So if you imagine yourself as that pressure cooker, being able to have a outlet is very important. But when we don't, we end up in the greater term bleeding on others. So, like I said, you're the person that talks soft and understanding, and you're always there for people. But then the flip side, when you're under pressure, you're a person you're very irritable, sometimes short-tempered. You get irritable, very short-tempered. Sometimes it's even maybe avoidant. You start to rush the conversation because it doesn't bring any value to what's going on with you. We start to bring our emotions into it because we're like, I could do something better than to sit here and listen to you, or I could do something better than doing this, that, and the third. That's the emotional part of it. Relationships, how they can affect, um, it can put a lot more pressure on relationships than it needs to be. Because like I said, the physical and emotional factors is already added there. You're irritable, you can't focus, you're avoiding the conversation, avoiding the decision. You feel like physically, you feel like there's probably like a 10-pound elephant on your back. So it's, it starts to build up and it starts to feel, and then it makes it to where when we try to make these decisions, it feels as though that one choice is not enough out of the 3 other choices that you could do, but you know for a fact that you have to choose one when you wish there was, like, multiple options. So, relationship-wise, it puts a lot of pressure on the person even though uh, they don't have direct connection to it.
Mm.
Sometimes it could put, very harsh, uh what's the best way to say it? Sometimes it could put very direct, harsh, uh terms to the person, and by terms, I do mean, like, you're not, a person that likes to go out anymore. You start to, instead of being the extroverted person you used to be, you can be introvert you start being more introverted, you don't like communicating. These are some signs where the relationship that requires you to communicate, you decide to fall off the wagon. And which is common causes for people that have, like, what's called hyper depression, where it's like they'll go throughout their daily life, but at the same time, they still have moments where they reflect on past and transgressions and everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. That's really makes like it reframes everything. And this is truly, truly a wonderful conversation with you. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then where can listeners find you and explore your work, including Shadow Corner?
Okay. So, I am on a platform. I will correction. I am on all podcast platforms, including Pandora and Spotify and Apple Music and Google. Um, I'm also on my YouTube channel, which is called Shadow Corner Life Life Coaching. We are also on TikTok, as Shadow Corner Life Coaching, Instagram, Shadow Life Coaching. Let's see when brain goes. I was also featured in 2 books. So those 2 books help one helps with the loss because I had an aunt that passed away from stage 4 lung cancer, so I've had to go through these stages of grief. So it'll kind of give you an idea of what it truly means when you go through that grieving process. And then I also had the second book called Breaking the Silence, Volume 3. In my chapter, because there's like 19 of us in the book, I go over what it means to be worthy still and the things that you have to choose. It also help you with decision making because in 2 of those stories, I had to make a decision of whether or not to keep a friendship, and then in another to keep myself in a relationship that wasn't good for me. So I hope that you can look at those books. They're available on Amazon. And then if you don't have links to those, we also have our website, www.shadowcornerlifecoaching.com. And I am openly taking clients and accepting appointments. So anybody wants to talk to me, get at me. That's how you do it.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you because you're truly, truly an amazing and sweet person. And to my listeners, there is a reflection question for you. What decision have you already made internally but haven't yet allowed yourself to act on? And remember, hard decisions are not about choosing the perfect path, they're about choosing yourself with honesty and care. And thank you for being here with us on the Soul Mirror. May today offer you permission to trust what you already know and the compassion to move at your own pace. Until next time, keep noticing the patterns, listening inward, and choosing with care. Thank you.